Hi everyone, my name is Kylin, and I work for Project Exploration. I have the best of both worlds as I get to spend most of my time working in our office, coordinating all of our Arizona trips. However, I also get to spend some time going on trips throughout the year as an instructor. This is my first year as an instructor, and although I've loved all of our trips, my favorite so far has been our Northern Arizona trips because I love teaching and learning about geology and getting to spend the whole day outdoors. So one of the reasons I love our Northern Arizona trips is because we often stop in Flagstaff and around that area. And Flagstaff actually has a rich history with space, which not a lot of people know about. So when we go to Flagstaff, we often visit Lowell Observatory and Sunset Crater. And although Lowell is most well known for the discovery of Pluto, it also actually played a huge role in the Apollo program, which was the NASA program to land people on the moon. One of the roles Lowell played in getting to the moon was lunar mapping, which helped identify safe landing spots for the astronauts, as well as map the terrain on the surface of the moon. In addition to lunar mapping, every astronaut on the Apollo 11 mission spent time training in Flagstaff. At Lowell, they learned what kind of science they would encounter or need to do once they got to the moon, and on Sunset Crater, they walked around in their suits and with their rovers to replicate what the ground of the moon would feel like. Another popular location near Flagstaff that the astronauts trained at is Meteor Crater. At Meteor Crater, they learned about the structure of crater impact sites and how to navigate them. You can read more about the importance of Flagstaff and Northern Arizona to the space race missions at the website on that last picture. So because of this rich history Flagstaff has with the moon, I wanted to talk a little bit about moon phases and then follow that up with a fun activity and some other cool space resources. When we look up at the moon during a clear night, we can see that it goes through a full cycle over the course of a month. In fact, the word month originated from moon because that's the amount of time it took for the moon to complete its cycle through the phases. When we talk about moon phases, I think it's easiest to start over on the right with the new moon. New moon is completely dark, meaning that no sunlight is reaching the surface of the moon that we can see. So in this diagram, the sunlight is highlighting the side of the moon facing away from Earth, so that the side of the moon that we are looking at is dark. The next phase as we go around is the waxing crescent, which means that a small sliver of the right side of the moon is lit up that we can see, what we refer to as a crescent shape. Next is the first quarter, or half moon, because about half of the moon is lit up to our view. The next phase is the waxing gibbous, so even more of the moon is lit up until we get to our full moon over on that left side, where our side of the moon that we can see is being completely lit up by sunlight. Now that the moon has hit full moon, we need to start going back towards new moon. So after the full moon, we have our waning gibbous. And then we go from the waning gibbous to third quarter, where again that's also called a half moon, where about half the moon is lit up. But as you'll notice, it's now the left side of the moon that is lit up instead of the right side, which we saw during first quarter. So after third quarter, we get to our waning crescent, and then finally we get back to our new moon. For me, one of the most confusing things about learning the phases of the moon is telling the difference between waxing and waning. So waxing means that the moon is getting brighter. Just like when you light a candle, the candle is bright because of the wax. So as we go through our waxing phases, the moon is getting brighter. Waning means that the moon is getting dimmer. Okay, so now that we know all of our moon phases, one of my favorite activities to do is to use Oreo cookies to make the moon phases. So all you need is some Oreos and a partner to quiz you. So start by having your partner name a phase of the moon. We can use a waning crescent, for example. And then all you need to do is make that phase using your Oreo cookie. So I like to split my Oreo in half and use the top to make my phases. But you can also just bite the cookie to make your phases of the moon. You'll just need a cookie for each phase, which is delicious. So even though our moon is super cool, it is not the only thing that is floating around in space. And scientists use telescopes to look at all sorts of different formations that are out there, including stars, nebulas, gas clouds, just to name a few. And one of the most famous telescopes is actually in space already. It is called the Hubble Space Telescope. NASA uses this giant telescope to take pictures of all sorts of incredible things. In fact, some pictures require the telescope to focus on the same part of deep space for weeks at a time in order to gather enough light waves to capture the picture. And because this year is the telescope's 30th birthday, NASA has created a website where you can put in your birthday and it will pull up a picture that the Hubble telescope took on that day. For example, when I went to the website and put in my birthday, December 29th, this is a picture that the website pulled up, which is pretty incredible, right? And when I pulled up the picture, it popped up a little description. And if you look at the right-hand top corner, there's a little button that says more information. And if you click that, you should be able to read all about the picture that the Hubble telescope took on your birthday. Well, I hope you've enjoyed learning a little bit about the importance Arizona and Flagstaff in particular played in the race to the moon, and what the moon phases look like, and how we use the Hubble telescope to see what kinds of incredible things are out there in space. Feel free to check out those links that were in the video, and hope to see you on a field trip sometime soon.